join me with our land acknowledgement. We are gathered on the unceded land of the Lenape peoples. We acknowledge the Lenape community, their elders both past and present, as well as future generations. This acknowledgement demonstrates a commitment to dismantling the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism. It's this time in our service that we greet our neighbor.
All right, let us breathe. Let's just breathe in love and breathe out peace for the world. And a deep breath in, breathing in love, and breathing out peace. This last week has been so painful. The loss of life, the constant fear, the alerts keeping our adrenaline pumping, our suspicion raised, the tears and powerlessness. And we breathe in love. And breathe out peace. So much division, deep, deep division. Angry at people who are paying attention to pain over here and not over there. Angry at people who are paying attention to pain over there and not over here. Angry at people not paying attention at all. Let's breathe in love and breathe out peace for this bruised and hurting world. Spirit of life, this is our broken, beautiful world, the one we care for and exploit, the place we celebrate our gratitude and express our most sincere lament. We here on this planet, in this nation, in this city, we need the companionship of love. Our leaders are lost. Our rage is winning, our fear is real. We breathe in and out. Spirit of love, we ask to be reminded of beauty, to be receivers of kindness, to become perpetrators of generosity. Spirit of life and love, we are your partners. Breathe through us. Breathe through us your love. Breathe through us your peace. We breathe in love. We breathe out peace. Love and peace. Love and peace.
So beautiful. Today's reading is about art. The point is, art never stopped a war and never got anybody a job. That was never its function. Art cannot change events, but it can change people. It can affect people so that they are changed, because people are changed by art. Enriched, ennobled, encouraged, they then act in a way that may affect the course of events, by the way they vote, by the way they behave, by the way they think. This reflection was written by Leonard Bernstein.
are so lucky to have them, am I right? Just so lucky. I took an art history course in college. The teacher was a recovering alcoholic who was in a 12-step program. She was sober a good long time, and she talked really openly about addiction and recovery, including the expectation that to be what she called a good AA member, you had to believe in God. She explained this in the context of art. She was an artist and a lover of art, particularly visual art. She would show us a slide. She'd project it up onto a really big white wall and just leave it there. She would stop talking, and it felt like she just got lost in whatever it was that she was showing us. Or she would project it and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk about what we were looking at, telling us dozens of stories of the piece and all the ways that this piece lives. And then she would tell us she didn't know how it felt to believe in God, but she knew what it felt like to believe in art. And clearly she did. It moved her. She knew the world differently because of what she saw, and she wanted us to see it too. This was, in my language, her ministry. It was where and how she found meaning, and where and how she carried others into this undercurrent, hoping we'd all be swept away. And I was. It was senior year, and I considered letting go of the religion and politics that I'd been studying all those years, instead to change course and start studying art. My mother, not wanting to foot that bill, told me that was not a realistic plan. But it's still true that when I need to find balance or joy or rest, I go to a museum. The Met is currently my first choice. I don't see a lot when I go, which is really intentional, right? There's so much, and it's just overwhelming. I don't do that. I just go to a couple of rooms, and I let those spaces wash over me. I sit, and I breathe, and I look. I don't think as much as I feel, and I almost always feel gratitude and grace. Art was my teacher's spiritual practice, one she was so moved by, she introduced every student to it. For me, and I'm really sure that I'm not alone, it's stuck. I'm not a visual artist, but I can be taken over by a painting or a photograph. I know the world differently. I might know myself differently, if only for a moment, but often forever. I invited Peter Robinson, who was a member here, to join us. Peter has been teaching our youth. He has been bringing art. He has been a teacher of art as a spiritual path, whether he would claim that space or not. I have been watching our youth these last few years, and that is the place he has taken in this community. And so I am really very, very happy that he has agreed to come and speak, and I'm hoping he'll say something about this gorgeous picture that we have here.
Good afternoon, community. It is so long since I've been with you, and I see so many familiar faces, so I feel a little bit more comfortable. I was nervous about being here, but Can you hear me? My partner says I have to breathe, be calm. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Reverend Clarke, as I now call you affectionately, Reverend Peggy, and Jill for the invitation to speak on Art Sunday. Some here in the audience know who I am, but let me introduce myself. My name is Peter Robinson, and I've been a member of the community church since 1998.
I'm so sorry, Peter. We're really, really struggling today. I don't know why this isn't working.
Can you hear me?
It's just that there's feedback.
Oh,
Wanna try that?
there's two of me, you know. When I was invited to speak, I was not sure about what I would talk about, and I knew it was Art Sunday, but I am so happy to be in the presence of my family again. Also shouts to Jerry and Darnell and Jonathan and Brenda, Reverend Geiger, Brother Zachary. Gosh, I've heard these names so long and seen so many faces. And just so you know, I'm a little disappointed. I always assumed that every Sunday when I watched this church service, that all the members were zoomed up there and you could see that I was watching you. But, and I am a little disappointed because I was hoping they would be dancing today. Because I love the dancers. I love the dancers. So I didn't know what I was going to do. So I was talking to my sister and I explained what the program was about today and said I wasn't quite sure I would consider myself an artist. She then reminded me that when we were kids, I used to draw cars like all the kids in the 50s and 60s because those cars were beautiful and they had flash and they had drama. And then she also reminded me that I used to design clothes for her paper dolls. And I guess that's true, and probably because they were not stylish. So I guess I am starting somewhere here. My mother was intrigued by how I would wrap gifts for her. So every Christmas Eve, I was shuttled into the bedroom with wrapping paper, ribbons. I'll take the other mic.
Let's try the other mic.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay. Where was I? I was in the bedroom, right? So I was shuttled off into the bedroom with wrapping paper, ribbon, tags, and tape. It was pure enjoyment. Being in the bedroom, watching the Yuletide log on TV in the fireplace and television, and wrapping my family's presents, to this day I still believe that a present should be a present before it's a present, if you get my drift. At the age of 13, I was given my first camera, a Kodak Brownie camera. Those days, cameras really just produced snapshots, and I went around taking pictures of my family and my friends. And then something dawned on me. The images I took looked just like my vision. And to clarify that statement, at the age of 11, I lost sight in my left eye due to a childhood accident. My depth perception has always been off. Parking a car for me is a nightmare. My judgment of distance is laughable. But the images that were coming out of the camera looked exactly like how I saw the world. Flat. And I always called myself a serious amateur photographer, and my only formal education in photography was 2 years at the New School. On occasions, I do write, I do paint, I do poetry, I do crafting, I do framing, and I have dabbled in glass blowing. So I guess I qualify as somewhat as interested artist. When I finished high school, my English teacher of all people presented me with a graduation gift. I don't believe I ever took my camera to school, and I know I didn't talk to anyone about my interest in photography. I'm moved by the gift. My English teacher of all people gave me this gift of a book called The Family of Man. It is an ambitious collection of 503 photographs from 68 countries for peace. It's a manifesto for peace and the fundamental equality of mankind expressed through the humanist photography of very famous photographers. I was blown away by this compilation and the power of photography. I had seen it differently than I'd ever seen it before. It lives with me every day. Then I realized, while preparing this reflection, I realized that this is not only about me. It's also about what art is. It's not about what art is. It's not about self-expression. And it's not about creativity. It's about the space of self-expression that we give each other to realize who we are and what we are capable of. I stand before you today to acknowledge the rarefied influence of our progressive denomination, the history and importance of this church and its congregation, and the extraordinary influence on me by its ministry, programs, members, and staff. I've always appreciated our partnership, Anthony. The first experience of this was with this acknowledgement of a commitment ceremony that Gary and I celebrated in the old sanctuary in May of 1998. As a same-sex couple, we had the first commitment ceremony at this church. It was acknowledging CCNY as a welcoming congregation. At the end of that ceremony, I acknowledged that I was finally out in public. I'm eternally grateful that I could share that moment with my church family. I no longer had to hide who I was or who I loved. Later on, someone, or everyone, I like to meet the person who did it, knew that I had produced events at the Javits Center. Members of the church and staff eventually asked me to decorate the fellowship hall. I was honored to decorate it. It was a pleasure to set the tone for many ordinations, special events, and weddings. And I can tell you now, I have never done anything like that before. I hired people to do that. It was so interesting and gratifying for me to experience that part of myself. That led to many other opportunities to support this congregation, which included membership drives and committee affairs. The most rewarding project I dealt with at CCNY was in 2005, calm down, Peter, after Hurricane Katrina devastated New Orleans. The Sunday after the storm, the congregation signed Post-it notes of concern and prayers for those affected by the disaster. I had a vision of taking those Post-its and mounting them on an umbrella, summoning the culture and history of New Orleans. The umbrella tradition in New Orleans signifies the beginning of a new life together. Our communal involvement in this project moved me to tears. For a number of years under Reverend Tracy Spouse, Dr. Janice Marie Johnson, and Jill Levinsky, I participated in the religious education program. You can say I was more of an observer. Actually, I believe that a man needed to be in the room with the kids, but that was another story. I was in awe of the children's fearfulness and joy of learning and creating. I saw in them my child wonderment, and it spurred me to start sharing more of myself with my family, my friends, and church members. Thank you, Tracy, Janice, and Jill. I also want to acknowledge Ginny Asman for her steadfast commitment to Gallery 35 and its members. I began to share my photography in a number of shows. Not only was I a participant, but also a volunteer and a member of a group of like-minded people. I would like to acknowledge in particular Ellen Mountainbaum, whose art continues to inspire this congregation, and Kevin Maxwell for his longtime friendship. In 2020, I stumbled upon a practice created by a Reverend Barb Grieve called UU Lent. UU Lent has been created as a way for Unitarian Universalists to engage in a shared spiritual practice alongside their faith. It involved 40 words and terms like gratitude, retreat, yearning, risk, and trust. Each day you were invited to reflect on a particular word. There was an option to interpret each word photographically. I immediately got engaged in this practice and incorporated my images and a quote that would reflect the word of the day. I only mention this because the same year, Jill, you all know her, asked me if I would participate in a program, a photography program for teens. At first I declined. I declined because today's technology, the cameras and everything, there's so many different things, and you're talking about disparate programs and access and steps, and I didn't want to get caught up in all that. So I finally agreed, and I said, Jill, there's one thing I would like to do. I would like to have the program be about the UU principles. And I'd like to see what the kids could do with that possibility. So we did that. And seeing the principles expressed through younger eyes and minds was a gift, truly a gift. We had RE participants from different congregations. Some participated not just once, but more than once. And I always thought that they came with new eyes and new visions. And I had to actually curtail, I didn't want to ever critique a piece of work. I told Jill I would not critique their work. I had to accept it because I had to see where it came from. And the education for me was incredible because my way of thinking what a word means and today's version of that word are so different. And I forgot that we have generation after generation, we recreate ourselves, and therefore I was thrilled to do this. In fact, I want to do it again. Have you ever, okay. I always envy people who decide that they become dancers, singers, artists, Darnell in particular. And I always thought they were called to something by passion, by truly passion. But I think I understand now that creativity and art are the DNA in all of us. Have you ever had to throw together dinner from what you have in your cabinet or the leftovers in your fridge? Then you find yourself amazed at what you were able to throw together that was always not only edible, but also delicious. We do that in so many ways in our lives and don't recognize our own ability to create. I, like everyone else, sometimes diminish what I do because I look out in the world and say, oh, I'm not that good. I can't do that. But the doubt of our capability seems to diminish our possibility. When spring comes, even though I promise myself I will never, never, ever take another picture of a flower, what do? I run out the moment they start popping up. And so I have thousands of images of flowers. My partner Gary and I have always said that I'm a Renaissance man in his eyes. I'm not quite sure I deserve that honor, but I do recognize that I seem to gravitate towards things that interest me without fear. I enjoy experiencing life as mistakes, lessons, and opportunities. In closing, I'm reminded of a quote, "In ordinary life, we hardly realize what we receive a great deal more than we give. And that is only with gratitude that life becomes rich." And that was by Dietrich Bonhoeffer. The image that you see before you, or behind me, that one, was taken one night while walking to a class here at Community Church. I looked up and I saw the two things that are dearest to me. And as I mentioned earlier, I have a flat vision, so looking up, that's what I saw. And what it was is first of all, this church and its spiritual meaning to me, and the Empire State Building, which represents my love for this city and the opportunity I have working for the people of this state. Again, thank you, Reverend Clarke, Reverend Peggy, I got to get used to this, for this opportunity to speak on Art Sunday. I appreciate the members of this church, past and present, for their contribution to each and every one of us. I will always be grateful for Community Church. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Peter. This service was titled The Madness of Art, which comes from a book written by Henry James. The protagonist keeps thinking he'll have more time to create something truly wonderful, a seminal work, but it turns out he doesn't have that time, and the work he's done is already quite good. The quote is spoken to a young admirer, a new artist and student seeking experience and wisdom from his idol/mentor. The whole quote reads, "A second chance, that's the delusion. There was never to be but one. We work in the dark, we do what we can, we give what we have. Our doubt is our passion, and our passion is our task. The rest is the madness of art." When I first met my husband, I bought him a t-shirt that said that. I honestly had no idea where it came from, but I loved it and have since gone and found that book. I think the assumption is that the writer is suggesting that art is madness. At least that's how I first heard this line and how I've heard it used. But upon further reflection, that's not what he's actually trying to convey to his would-be protege. He's saying the rest. The rest is the madness of art. We have one chance. We do all we can, even though we have no idea if any of it is good or meaningful. Our passion is our task, the thing that keeps us working, creating, and everything else, that's madness. Everything else, your fear, your worry, your second guesses, your rejections, distractions, dismissals, that's the madness. That's not the task, that's not the passion. It's what my Jewish grandmother would call mishigas. So whatever is left, that uncategorized stuff. Peter's work with our youth is about introducing people to passion, bringing them to the place of meaning. He does for our youth what my teacher did for me. He brings them to the undercurrent where meaning lives and hopes they get swept away. That's what matters. The rest is the madness of art. Let's sing together, number 1024.
Spirit
Life at Can you hear me now? Okay. Life at Community Church is busy, whether we are online or in person. It is our hope that wherever you are and in whatever way you are comfortable, engaging in the mission and ministry of this church, we have provided opportunities for you. Here are a few highlights for this week. The national magazine UU World is joining us next week. They are doing an article on our dance ministry, so we're hoping to show off a little. Please join us and bring a friend. The week after, October 29th, we're trying out a new liturgy. Please come for this worship experiment. Our regular programs can be found in the Clarion on the table in the vestibule, as well as our website, and will be sent to anyone who signs up for our newsletter. By request, we're also starting focused lists for people to receive specific information you'd like to get. Our ushers are going to pass a plate for our collection. The money we collect on Sunday goes to support our music and dance programs and many other ministries of this church. All gifts offered are accepted in gratitude. Our offertory music is Starry Night by Don McLean.
We changed that.
Oh, sorry. Never mind.
They needed to do that towards the end somewhere. I may not recover. Let us extinguish our chalice. The words are in your program. Knowing how quickly the flame of truth may be extinguished, how easily the chalice of fellowship broken, let us be vigilant in faith, keep peace in our hearts, and make care for one another the watchword of our lives together. So our light goes out everywhere into the world. Our light goes out everywhere. Healing and hope are needed. Let us go in peace to love and serve this world and one another. Peace be with you.
Have you ever felt like nobody was there? Have you ever felt forgotten in the middle of nowhere? Have you ever felt like you should disappear? Like you could fall and no one would hear? So let that lonely feeling wash away. Maybe there's a reason to believe you'll be okay. When you don't feel strong enough to say, you can reach out my hand. And someone will come running and you'll know they'll take you home. Even when the dark comes crashing through, when you need a friend to carry you, when you're broken on the ground, you will be found. Let the sun come streaming through, you reach up, rise again, lift your head and look around. You will be found. You will be found. You will be There's a place where you don't have to be unknown. Every time that you call out, you'll feel a little less alone. If you only say the word, from across the silence you will be heard. And someone will come running and you know they'll take you home. Even when the dark comes crashing through, when you need a friend to carry you, when you're broken on the ground, you will be found. Let the sun come streaming through.